What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. Boy, do we have a lot of things to go over today. And we're going to talk about, up until right now, as of recording this, so on the morning of Wednesday, March 17th, we're going to go over all the different things that have been happening in free agency. We're going to go over the poll we had from last week and what you guys would do in the mock draft. We're going to go over stat of the day, and then we're going to finish off with a mock draft this week. Biggest thing you got to know is if something happens later today or the morning that you guys are watching this, there's going to be an update, right? We're in March. I'm going to update you guys on everything happening. But this is as of right now, as of 9:45 a.m., March 17th. But we've got a lot of things to go over. So we'll just start up with the top. Aaron Jones, 4 years, $48 million deal. Big downgrade to A.J. Dillon. We made the video on players I'm excited about. I don't know, was that a week or two ago? Maybe 2 weeks ago at this point. And I was very excited about the potential for Aaron Jones to leave, maybe be featured on the team he goes to. We were hoping the Dolphins, but of course that's not happening now. And also very excited for A.J. Dillon, because if Jamal Williams is also going to leave, then maybe A.J. Dillon has this complete role. And even if Jamal Williams was going to stay because Aaron Jones left, well, Dillon was still going to probably be the lead back. A lot of upside there. That is not happening. We've got A.J. Dillon now backing up Aaron Jones completely with Jamal Williams going to Detroit. But I honestly think it's a downgrade to both, but not really to Jones too much. We should basically expect Jones to have the same exact role he had last season, which means he's pretty much just as valuable as he was last year. And then Dillon, of course, will be more valuable than last season because he's basically just going to take over the Jamal Williams role with less receptions. That's one big thing, is that we look at Aaron Jones, maybe he gets a few less carries, like they want to use Dillon more, but Dillon is very clearly not going to be featured in the receiving game, whereas Jamal Williams definitely had games where he had a lot of targets and he was used in the field in third downs. Well, if Aaron Jones is going to get more of that share, he could actually see an increase in his value. Now, I kind of just want to say it's whatever we've been seeing because he's been so good in fantasy. It's like I don't want to rank him number one overall, but he's going to be a very good pick this season. Going to have a nice season. They're clearly invested in him. They clearly want to use him, so very good pick there. Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston both signed new deals. Now, you got to look into these deals because you're going to see 4 years, $140 million for Taysom Hill and be like, excuse me? Like, what is happening there? Fully guaranteed in this first season. Fully guaranteed. Every single year is voidable. But assuming they keep him for this season, which they're going to do, he's going to get a little over $12 million this season. Basically, everything else can just be cut, right? Like if they just decide after the season they don't want Taysom Hill anymore, he can be gone. They owe him absolutely nothing. They pay him the $12 million from this season, and they're done with it. Winston technically has less of a deal. It's purely 1 year, $12 million. But like I just said with Taysom, that's effectively what Taysom's going to be. Like they just did this for cap reasons. They're going to restructure Taysom Hill. Like let's say this season happens and they really want him to be the quarterback of the future. They're going to restructure the deal. They're not going to keep with what they have. So it's kind of like a fake deal. Like that's not real money that he's going to see. You basically just have to look at it and say they're effectively going to pay them both the same this season, and they're going to compete for the job. I will say they're more invested in Taysom Hill because that 12.159 is guaranteed this season if he plays, whereas Winston, they're only guaranteeing a $1 million base salary, $4.5 million to the signing bonus, and the rest of that is incentive based. So if he's not the starter, he's not going to get a lot of those incentives. I don't know exactly what they are, but typically they deal with a certain amount of playing time. Like if he plays X% of the snaps and they make the playoffs, he gets certain bonuses, Pro Bowl, All Pro, like things like that. And so he's just not going to see all those incentives if he's not the starting quarterback. But again, both of these guys are going to compete for the starting role over the summer. My lean is 65-35 in favor of Hill. I have seen reports that have come out that have said Winston is the favorite right now. But in my opinion, I still think Hill is going to be the starting quarterback just because of Sean Payton. Sean Payton, he doesn't value taking risk deep downfield. He values security. He values not turning the ball over And I don't think that's Jameis Winston's strong suit. Like, it's just not. So I think Hill's going to win the job, but we're going to find out. So it's not something we need to overly speculate on. Dak Prescott said he expects to be healthy to start the season. We've been expecting this. I'm operating under that assumption throughout all drafts this offseason. Until we hear news that he is not on track, we need to assume that he is a full good to go to start the season. You should draft him and his weapons accordingly based on that news. James Conner is on Miami's radar. I personally don't think he's going to go there, but I guess, I don't know, like anything could realistically happen. I am hoping that they get a high-end rookie pick. Like, they don't say take like a 5th-round rookie. Like, I'm hoping they spend a relatively early pick on a rookie. Don't bring in big-name tickets in free agency. I think they brought in Malcolm Brown, but like, that's not who they want. Like, they're going to feature someone. It's not going to be Malcolm Brown. It's probably not going to be someone on the roster already. It could be James Conner, but my thinking is still it's going to be a rookie, but we'll see. We've got some Patriots news. So the Patriots sign Cam Newton to a 1-year deal, only $2 million signing bonus, $1.5 million guaranteed with per game bonuses. So as he plays, that goes up. And the remaining $9 million is just incentive based. Just like I talked about before. Does he make the Pro Bowl? Is he an All-Pro? Do they make the playoffs? Do they win the Super Bowl? Things like that. If those happen, he gets more money. If those don't happen, he barely gets any money for starting quarterback. So still a great deal for the Patriots. It does not mean that they are not going to go after. Yeah, I said that right. It doesn't mean double negative there, but they could still go after a quarterback in the draft because like they're not giving him a ton of money. So if they decide, hey, I actually don't want Cam to be the starting quarterback, it's not going to cost them all that much because most of his contract is incentive-based. But if they do end up using him, the Patriots have made some moves. They grabbed Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. I'm a big Jonnu Smith fan. I think he is very, very talented. Both these guys get effectively the same deal. 4 years for Jonnu, 3 years for Hunter Henry, but both get $12.5 million per year. I think for like the Patriots, right? Like for an actual football move, this is fantastic. It's going to give them security in the receiving game because last season their tight ends were trash. And then they had the injury to Julian Edelman. They had N'Keal Harry just being an absolute bust. And so they just had no one, like Jacoby Myers, thank goodness, like started to break out, but they had no real talent. And so it was difficult for Newton to do anything. But the point is, they don't want that to happen again, to where they had the absolute worst skill positions in just like the entire league, right? So they bring in Jonnu and Hunter Henry. They're basically going to run 2 tight end sets on every single play. And they're like, listen, we only need 2 competent receivers on the outside. They did go out and get Aguilar. We'll talk about in a second. They end up getting Kendrick Bourne. We'll talk about that. They still have Julian Edelman. They still have Jacoby Myers and N'Keal Harry. So they have enough dudes to where they can put someone out there, and they don't want 3 receivers. Like they just figure like we don't have good enough receiving talent to be doing that, and they want to run the ball so much that it's smart to run the ball and do play action out of 12, right? Like if you've got Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry in the field, you've got a ton of blocking potential. You've got the potential for Newton to keep the ball. So you have all those blockers plus the running back blocking. And if you go play action off that, you've got 2 exceptional tight ends in Smith and Henry. And so it's just a very smart move for the Patriots. For fantasy, obviously you didn't want this to happen, right? Like you wanted Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith to both go to like really high, like different and really high volume passing offenses. That didn't happen. But here's the thing. When you look back at what it takes to be a tight end 1, 9 points per game is going to make you a mid-range tight end 1. Like unless you're in that top 3 or 4, everyone else is basically the same from like 5 through 15, right? They're all scoring like 7 to 9 points. So can both Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry achieve that? They can. This just hurts the upside, right? Because they're both not going to be dominant because Patriots are going to run the ball a ton, assuming, again, Newton's the quarterback. They're going to run the ball a ton. Newton is not going to sit there and throw for 300 yards a game. So this hurts them. But don't think you just can't draft them. Like, I don't even know if I change the rankings all that much because there's not that many tight end options. And I'm pretty sure they can get like 4 for 40 every single game and with the upside to score touchdowns. So It's definitely bad news that they both went here, but don't think this means you can't draft either of them because they're both still talented and they're going to be on the field a ton and probably be featured in the offense. We've got more news though because again, so many things happen. So the Buccaneers are interested in James White. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like Tom Brady just likes James White. He likes running backs like that. Makes even more sense if Fournette leaves. Like let's say that report that Fournette wants to go to Seattle. I mean, if that holds true, then they're not entering the season with Vaughn and Jones, right? Like they just don't trust those guys. They know they're still going for the Super Bowl. I wouldn't be shocked if they go out, they get James White, they pair him with Ronald Jones. That would actually be a solid duo because the biggest knock on Ronald Jones is that he can't pass protect and he can't catch. Okay, well, why don't we just have him on early downs then, and then have James White play a few early downs, but then all of the third down role, that mitigates a lot of that. And so I think this makes a lot of sense. Wouldn't be shocked if it happened. Again, James White, not really the type of player we go after in fantasy because he has a 0% chance of having a 3-down role. And so you're basically only taking him a full PPR and you're realizing that you're just giving up that potential for running back one because it's just not going to happen. Beautiful news, guys. Ryan Fitzpatrick has signed with the football team. Amazing. He's going to beat out Heineke. Like, he's just better than Heineke is. They know that. Really big boost for Terry McLaurin, right? Like, so we're actually, I don't know if I wrote it down here. So Curtis Samuel is rumored right now, like this is pretty fresh, rumored to potentially be going to Washington. I don't know if it's going to be Curtis Samuel, but I think it's going to be someone. Like a top end, a higher end talent, I believe, is going to join Terry McLaurin on the football team. And this is not going to make Fitzpatrick someone that we're like really targeting in fantasy or anything. But these are just really good things for like McLaurin and for Gibson. Like if Curtis Samuel comes, the offense is going to be better, right? There's going to be Fitzpatrick is an obvious upgrade over what they had for most of last season. We're going to see them moving the ball down the field more because Curtis Samuel is going to help them, convert on third downs. It's great news for Antonio Gibson because maybe they score more points, they have more yardage. Like just being a better offense is just better for the pieces in that offense. So it's not like bringing in Curtis Samuel's like, oh no, McLaurin can't do anything. No, like Fitz is going to pepper McLaurin and Samuel targets, assuming that Curtis Samuel goes there. But the point is, Fitz going there is beautiful for both McLaurin and Gibson, and you hope that another receiver goes there, and this offense can be really good. Bad news, though, for Philip Lindsay. This is yikes. The Broncos extend an original round tender on him. So they could have chosen, like a second round tender. They could have basically said, we value him more, and if another team matches, then we get something in return. So, like, Philip Lindsay can go out and get a deal with another team. And then the Broncos can say, we're going to match that, and we're going to keep him. But if they let him go right now, they get nothing. Had they given him more of a tender, then he would have basically, they'd have gotten like a second round pick. In like a very easy way of saying it, had they not matched, they would have gotten a pick. Now, they're basically saying, we don't care. Like, if another team wants to go out and get him, and we don't feel like matching that deal, we get absolutely nothing, and we're comfortable with that. That's like the easy way of saying it. And so this shows that they don't really care if Lindsay is in their plans for the future, and that's not good for us in fantasy, right? Like, if they clearly don't care that much, then they're viewing Melvin Gordon as probably the guy this season. So I think it's a stock up for Melvin Gordon. Obviously, this doesn't make him like a first or second round pick or anything, but it gives you a little bit more confidence in them viewing him as the guy this season. And I mean, he could be really good if he's featured in this offense. Emmanuel Sanders signs with the Bills. I don't like this. Hurts Gabriel Davis a bit. I don't think Emmanuel is like all that good anymore, but he's still going to be used. They're going to run a lot of like 3-4 wide receiver sets, so this doesn't mean that Gabriel Davis just isn't going to see the field. Like, they got rid of John Brown because they believe in Gabriel Davis. You listen to anything that organization has said, they love that kid. So I still like him as a late round pick, but I dropped him down to the wide receiver 51. he was like 45, 46, like that kind of range. So it wasn't too many spots, but it adds risk because you're adding a proven wide receiver talent. Even if he's to the tail end of his career, Emmanuel Sanders is a proven wide receiver talent, and so this is a downgrade. But again, I think he's still someone, I still have him as a target on the website, so I would still go after Gabriel Davis. I don't really want Emmanuel Sanders, but if you want to take a shot late, he still has upside. He's still a good player. It's still a good offense. Corey Davis signs with the Jets. Don't love that. Unless the Jets went out and got a really good quarterback, I don't like it. 3 years, $37.5 million, $27 million guaranteed, so they're fully invested in him as the number one. The Jets have an out after 2 years, so that 27 guarantee is over after the second year, and they could cut him. What would that be for the 2023 season? This is a hit to Denzel Mims, but they're losing Perriman, they're probably going to lose Crowder, and so they were going to bring someone in, right? You can't go into the season with Denzel Mims and then absolutely no one like Braxton Berrios behind him. You have to add someone else. So I guess we probably should have seen this coming, but I don't know. I'm not excited to draft Corey Davis. I have him as wide receiver 39, but I don't think he's going to get a target. I would much rather take Mims. Not straight up. Obviously Corey Davis is more valuable, but if you're telling me I can get Mims in one of the final, if not the final rounds versus Corey Davis and what'll likely be closer to the middle rounds, I'm taking Mims late every time, so I'd prefer that. Carlos Hyde signs with the Jaguars. Perfect for us. We were a little bit scared about that report that came out, James Robinson, that they were listen, he was great, but we want to bring someone in to help him out. If this is all they're doing is Carlos Hyde, then we love it because Hyde is going to be 31 when the season starts. He always gets more work than he should, but there's no way they're just let's just feature Carlos Hyde over James Robinson. That's just not going to run through their minds, and it's the third down thing. If they'd brought someone in who's really good at pass catching, then you're a little concerned because are they going to preserve James Robinson and not use him in third downs? That's where so much of his value came from. That's not going to happen with Carlos Hyde. So if this is all they're doing, we love it, and we're taking James Robinson early. Like I said earlier, the Patriots signed Kendrick Bourne and Aguilar. The Bourne deal is 3 years, $22.5 million, which seems like a lot, but barely over 5 of that is guaranteed. And if you look at the contract, they can pretty easily cut him after this first year. They basically backloaded the contract, so they can just be hey, if it's not working out after year one, you don't make most of the salary. So don't look at that and say, oh my goodness, they overpaid for him. They're paying him nothing. Another thing with the Aguilar deal, it looks big. I have not yet seen a breakdown of exactly, I don't think the details have come out on exactly what it is, what the breakdown is, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's something similar, although I can personally guarantee you that they're guaranteeing more money to Aguilar than they did Bourne. So it's not going to be barely any guarantee and then cut him after the first year because I believe his deal is only 2 years, but I would not be shocked if a large portion of that is not guaranteed as part of incentives. Last bit of news, and then we will do the poll, the stat of the day, and the mock draft. So Panthers locked in on Watson. I don't want to read too much in any of these reports. Of course, the Panthers are locked in on Watson. So are the Bears. So is probably 80% of the NFL. If you don't have a top 20% quarterback, you should be locked in on Deshaun Watson. He's one of the best quarterbacks in football, and he wants out of his current team. Of course, you're locked into getting him, right? So until he signs somewhere, I'm not adjusting rankings. We'll just see. Wherever he ends up going is obviously a massive boost to the fantasy value of everyone on that team. And honestly, him going to the Panthers, him going to the Bears, I would like both of those landing spots because it just gives a little bit of a boost to some players that we really like, but just haven't had that quarterback play. So I hope he goes to one of those teams, but we're going to find out. So, poll from last week. I asked you guys, would you rather have Travis Kelce and Gabriel Davis or Julio Jones and Jonnu Smith? This was part of a 12-team full PPR draft where you could start 3 wide receivers. 75% of you said you would rather just take Kelce early. I don't know if this is part of, I've made a ton of videos so far this offseason saying, yeah, it's looking pretty optimal to take your tight end early because there's only 3 or 4 good ones with 2 or 3 of them clearly being ahead of the rest. And so having that massive edge is huge. And since there's so many wide receivers you can take late, it's looking optimal. I don't know if that's rubbing off on everyone, and so you're not even looking into what the comparisons are. Like Julio and Jonnu Smith is still like a really good combination, but I do agree. Like if this is what we're getting, is I'm downgrading Julio to Gabriel Davis. Like yeah, it's a huge downgrade, but I'm not necessarily starting Gabriel Davis, right? Because he was still a pretty late pick. Like you're downgrading Julio to like your third receiver that you would have gotten, and that wasn't as big of a downgrade. And it's a pretty big downgrade going from Kelsey to Jonnu Smith. I know there were other options. There was Parham, there was Irv Smith, but again, if we have an opportunity to take one of these high-end tight ends, we're probably going to be doing it because we can make up for those positions elsewhere. We can do it in free agency during the season. We can do it in trades during the season. You can't find Kelsey on free agency in the trade market. It just doesn't happen. So I agree with you guys there. Stat of the day, and then we'll do the mock draft. Friday was wrong, but I guess it would be Wednesday. Wednesday's stat of the day was which wide receiver with at least 100 targets averaged the most separation. The answer is Cole Beasley. Now, some of you are probably confused by that. Think about the stat. It's obviously going to be someone who works in the short area of the field because if someone's leading the league in separation as a deep threat, well, their name is probably Randy Moss, right? Like if you're averaging 5 yards of separation every time you run a deep route, you're catching touchdowns left and right for 70 yards, right? Like deep routes don't have as much separation. I know we like to see like, oh, Tyreek Hill's open by 10 yards. Okay, but there's still plenty of plays where there's like less than a yard of separation deep. So if you're looking on average, it's going to be someone who works in the short area of the field because you're not typically blanketed on a short route. So Cole Beasley is the answer. At Cole Cronium was the first to get that one right on Twitter. I'm recording this just before the video goes up on YouTube, but I will pin a comment on which one of you gets it right over there. And remember, follow us on Twitter, at NickZalikFFA, at Darren Mayberry FFA, if you want to get a shout out for answering first on Twitter this season. Today's stat. Who is the oldest tight end to ever post over 900 receiving yards in a single season? You don't need to tell me how old he was, just who it was. And also, something else I want in the comment section. I want to do a breakdown next week. So remember last season, we would do maybe like once every other week, breakdowns on difficult decisions. So in the first round, second round, third round, when you guys are doing these mock drafts and you're getting to a spot and you're like, I always get to these three players, who do I take? Let me know. Is there something this season that kind of keeps happening? Like if you haven't done mock drafts, do one. And when you get to like the third round and you're like, oh, wow, there's like 3 guys right here. Who do I take? Let me know who your favorite one is right now, and I'll do a breakdown of that next week. So it is time for the mock draft. These are the spots we've done. Kind of crazy. We've already done 6 mock drafts. So we'll do the randomizer, and whichever comes up, 7, 8, 10, or 11, whichever of those comes up first, we will do that. We'll switch to like half PPR this time. Still do the 12 teams, and we will just keep doing this. Did I say 9? No, it was 10 and 11, right? Okay, I'm just going to pick one in a second if it doesn't show up here. We'll do 8. There we go. We'll go back to 2. We'll do 2 flex spots in this one. Let's switch it up a bit. So we'll do 2 running back, wide receiver, tight end spots. We'll stick with the 5 bench spots. Defense, 2 running back. Yeah, we'll keep everything the same there. We will take off slightly high in wide receiver because it's now half PPR league. We'll put that to normal. And the system already values running backs higher, so I don't think we need to change anything there. We'll put slightly high in quarterback as well because that's kind of a trend I think is going to happen this season. So I want to make sure the computer kind of does that. And I think everything's set. So we will start the draft. We're 8. So probably not the best spot you want to be in. But we'll see what kind of happens here. Push this away. Okay. See all the elite running backs go. McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, Nick Chubb. I do think Jonathan Taylor will go before Chubb this season, but it's very close. And then Devonta Adams. And so left on the board, if we high drafted players, I am not going to take Kelsey here. We took him last week, so I think even if he's available in this next pick after that, we're not going to take him because again, these mock drafts are just kind of to get a feel of what's happening this season, what we can do, and if someone were to take Kelce, what do we do? Again, we're trying to get Kelce, but I want to make sure we're good to go if we're not getting him. So our options. We can take Jonathan Taylor, Zeke, Aaron Jones, or Eckler. I would say those are probably the top options there. Or we can go to wide receiver. I would say that if Adams was available, I would probably take him, but he is not. I believe my top ranked player is Jonathan Taylor here. I can actually show you guys. Yeah, I have it up. This will be the first. So this is the new look rankings right now. And as we see, yeah, Jonathan Taylor right there. I've added a lot. So if you guys have the draft package and you haven't checked in a little bit, I've added a few different things. Projections are fake right now. I'm not throwing up any projections until after the draft happens because literally everything's going to change and it's not even worth looking at. But definitely different from last season. I think it's going to be much better for you guys if you want to do the draft on the website. If you don't, you can download it to Excel here, but I would click this button right here because I have it formatted like beautifully in Excel. So all you gotta do is click that and you're gonna get it broken down overall with filters. You're gonna get down like each position in different tabs. It's much better than clicking this button, but if you want to, you can print it right there. Right here, I've got like changes. So if we compare like the last week, what has changed in my rankings, like our players moving up and down. We've got all the tiers in there. If you want to just target by sleepers, targets, avoid, whatever you want to do, sort by different positions, it's all in there. So check that out if you haven't done so already. And if you guys want to sign up now, before the end of April, promo code FFA, you're going to get, I don't even remember, if we're being completely honest. Is it like 15% off? I don't know. It says on the website. I want to say it's 15% off. Yeah, I think it's 15% off. But yeah, getting it cheaper than normal. And I'm not going to promise that the price won't go up later in the season. And another thing, the video breakdowns. So I'm adding this in this season. This is just a fake like test one right now. But you're going to be able to click every single probably top 150 player and get like a specific video on them. So if you're like, geez, I don't really know Nick's thoughts right now on Darren Waller, just click the video and you're gonna get a Darren Waller specific breakdown instead of people just don't like articles at this point. So I figure instead of doing like a write-up on the players, just be able to click the video. It's just an easy thing to just listen to. So that is available if you guys want to check that, and I'm updating it constantly even right now. So everything will be good to go there. But let's get back to the mock draft. So Kelce actually does go, looks like one pick before we're about to pick. But after, if you guys are listening on iTunes, Spotify, it is Zeke, Eckler, Aaron Jones, and Cam Akers. Cam Akers goes 12th overall. Now, I have him high. 12th overall is aggressive. I think I have him 15th overall, but I thought I was higher than the community, but maybe not. Then we start to see a run on wide receiver. So we have Tyreek Hill, Hopkins, Stephon Diggs go, and then right before us, Travis Kelce goes. We're still not looking at quarterback. We want a high-end quarterback, but we're not taking one in the second round. Our options for wide receiver, this is not full PPR, so DK Metcalf will be our top-ranked guy, but it's Metcalf, it's A.J. Brown are probably the two that I would want the most here. Or we continue with running back. We lock up another stud, and we hope that at our next pick, there are still two quality wide receivers we can take. Then maybe we start looking at tight end, quarterback. So those are two options. If I'm being honest, though, I'm looking at running back, and it's kind of like a gross range, right? Because I would have taken basically all the running backs that have gone off the board. I would have taken one of them. But now we're kind of in Jacobs, Swift, Sanders, Mixon, Dobbins, Gibson, James Robinson, all these guys I view very similarly. And I'm not saying I'm going to get one of them at the next pick, but value-wise, it's all of them are so close to each other that I feel like someone else is beating me. I don't really know. Maybe this is something we need to talk about more. I feel like even though I'm not going to get one of those running backs at the next pick, the fact that I am starting this kind of next tier and that someone 6, 7, 8 picks after me is going to get someone I view similarly, And I think, like, I guarantee you, if someone gets a similar running back to me, they have started off a better draft than me. Like, if you took Dalvin Cook, McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Barkley, and you get someone that I could also get at this pick, you're starting off a better draft than me. And I don't want that to happen. And so to avoid that from happening, I think I would prefer to take one of Metcalf or Brown because I do view them as like a tier above like the rest of these receivers. And so I don't think that someone is necessarily starting off with a much better draft than me. Obviously, like Metcalf comes with that risk that Wilson is going to leave, but I just don't understand how could Seattle part with Wilson? Like I just don't understand like the thought process of saying you've secured Russell Wilson, one of the best quarterbacks in football at the most important position by far. What are you letting him walk for? I mean, are they giving you like 7 first-round picks and like also another quarterback? Because like that's probably what he's worth, right? Like quarterbacks are just worth so much. So I just don't see it happening unless they're securing like a top-end quarterback in return as well. And so my lean is Metcalf there. But then on the flip side, you think, okay, but like there's also the potential that maybe, I know this is taking a while, but I want to bring you through my thought process. There's the potential here that Russell Wilson leaves. They bring in like Fournette, and they're just running the ball with Fournette and Penny like every single play. And then Metcalf still has less volume, but it's not coming from Russell Wilson. It's coming from a much lower end quarterback. And that really hurts. And when you're taking him this early, that's risky. Now, if Wilson's still the quarterback, DK Metcalf is an absolute monster, and I'm perfectly comfortable taking him in the second round. But I think I have just talked myself into A.J. Brown because I know who his quarterback is going to be. I know that Jonnu Smith is gone. I know that Corey Davis is gone. And that A.J. Brown is just the pure alpha in this offense. And he is a monster. These are his stats when he required knee surgery, right? Like he is a freak. And so I'm cool taking A.J. Brown here. Again, I completely understand if you want to go running back there, you want to go DK Metcalf there. That is my thought process as to what I did with that pick. Now, we have the opposite has kind of happened. Keenan Allen, great. Julio, great. Godwin, Evans, Galladay, wherever he goes will probably be good. Robert Woods, Amari Cooper, like all these guys are now the same. I flip over to running back. They are not all the same. Now we're down to Gibson, James Robinson, Montgomery, Cliff. To me, James Robinson and Montgomery should be in this third tier with Gibson, and that we should have a tier break right here. So now I don't think I'm starting a tier. I'm ending it. The problem is I'm also ending this Darren Waller tier. I keep saying teal. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take Gibson, because I do believe that I have him the highest. I don't have a problem if you wanted to take Robinson instead. I think I'm going to take Gibson. I'm going to pray that Darren Waller is available at our next pick, and we'll take him. If not, we'll hope that one of Robinson or Montgomery fall. If that also doesn't happen, we'll be fine just taking one of these wide receivers, and I'll still like the beginning to our draft, kind of alternating running back and wide receiver. So we'll take him. We will see who gets taken. It looks like the unfortunate thing has happened. We'll go over to the draft board. Waller goes, Robinson goes, Montgomery goes. Unfortunate. And then, of course, also Godwin, Keenan Allen, Julio, Galladay. We see our second quarterback get taken in Josh Allen. So I guess we can begin kind of thinking about that. But it's kind of what I said. This is a tier break. I feel comfortable enough. We'll pull up my team here. I feel good enough about having Jonathan Taylor and Antonio Gibson. I feel very strongly that they're going to be very good running backs this season, that I don't need to kind of work this range. If I would be, it would probably be Melvin Gordon, honestly, with this latest report, and Philip Lindsay. But I don't think that I'm going to. I think I would prefer to either take, honestly, Kyler Murray or just go with one of these receivers. I'm going to go with the receiver because I want my quarterback. I want a quarterback early, but I want it to always be of value. So I don't think Murray's going to be there at the next pick. But I want to keep waiting. Does Mahomes become a value? Okay, he gets taken. Does now this like Kyler Murray, Josh Allen tier become a value? Okay, no, there you get taken. Does this next tier become a value? And at some point, the answer is going to be yes. Like at some point, one of them is going to be a value. And if that's just never the case, okay, you can maybe start reaching on a quarterback, but I want to give myself the opportunity to get a value. And I don't think right now anyone's a value. Like maybe in the later fourth, early fifth, they'd be a value. But we'll just wait and see if any of these guys fall to us in the fifth round. So because of that, we basically just take whoever our favorite wide receiver is in this range. I don't actually know. I mean, let's pull up. I mean, all those guys are pretty much in similar spots. Is it Jefferson, Woods? I think Jefferson and Woods is Woods. Oh, Jefferson did go. Okay. I thought he was still on the board. Where did he go? Did I not even mention his name last time? Did he go like early third? He went mid third. Okay. Yeah, I mean, he's like awesome, so that makes a lot of sense. I have Woods. I'm kind of thinking I might have Evans a little bit too low, but he did also have a stretch where he was really, really bad last season. And I mean, you look at Robert Woods, like he's been so consistent throughout his career. Like he's had really, really nice production. This is with Jared Goff. Right, like Matthew Stafford is a significant upgrade over Jared Goff. They're going to be a lot better. They're going to throw the ball a lot because they just didn't even trust Goff to throw the ball last season. So yeah, no, I think Woods is a very, very good pick there. It looks like Kyler is still going to be on the board, and so I got to think we're taking him. I think another quarterback went, but it was Lamar. So Lamar goes before Kyler. We're in the fifth round now. I got to think we're going Kyler with this pick, but we see a lot of receivers go off the board. Evans goes right after us. I think I'm going to move Evans up a little bit. But Adam Dillon, Amari Cooper, Moore. We see Deontay Johnson, Odell, Cooper Kupp. So a lot of receivers go off the board. Not many running backs. A.J. Dillon, that is just because I don't think people have fully adjusted their rankings based off of Aaron Jones staying. He will probably end up going in like the 10th to 11th round. That's where I would guess. Najee Harris, obviously, I think he's actually going to go this early. Ronald Jones, that's going to depend on Leonard Fournette. Chris Carson, that's going to depend on where he goes. Same thing with Kenyon Drake, is he even on the Cardinals? So we're getting into that range where there's just a ton of question marks with these running backs, and so I feel good locking up Taylor and Gibson to start there. But again, this is a season that I want high-end quarterback production. It is definitely down to Melvin Gordon and Kyler Murray, but I don't think it's worth the risk just waiting on Kyler. So I think we just secure him. It looks like we might also get a lot of really good receivers went off the board after that. Yeah, we're going to also get Melvin Gordon. So I like this start a lot. Etienne goes off the board after us. Then Kareem Hunt. Boatload of wide receivers. Higgins, Fuller, Lockett, Lamb, Ayuk, and Jamar Chase. No qualms with any of those receivers or any of those running backs. I think all those picks make a lot of sense. We've locked up our quarterback. We still need a tight end, but we are now in the range where we're not going to be the first to take this next tier unless it's a huge value. Like we want Kelsey, Kittle, Waller. If we're not getting them, we're not going to be the next person to take a tight end. Like we are now that we did that going to wait and see if we can get a value there. We're going to hammer out running back and wide receiver in the meantime. I don't think Melvin Gordon should be going in the middle of the sixth round, especially, like I said, with this news that Philip Lindsay just doesn't seem to be in the plans for this team. So love taking that pick. We would probably prefer a wide receiver at this next pick. But again, our team, Kyler Murray at quarterback. We've got Taylor Gibson and Melvin Gordon at running back. A.J. Brown, Robert Woods at wide receiver. Loving this start so far. Still not doing tight end. Still don't need quarterback. I don't see a running back that's really standing out right now. So we're going to wait on that. And so it's receiver. Who is our top receiver still on the board? Probably Claypool. I think Miami's going to bring in another receiver. A little bit decreasing the value on Parker. Yeah. A lot of receivers I like still on the board, but I'm thinking, again, I feel like I take Claypool in every one of these drafts, but if we're looking at who has the most upside, Claypool has more upside than every single wide receiver still on that board. So taking him. Think about going back to running back. We now have 3 and 3, but there's many more options at wide receiver in the later rounds. So even if we finish even, we want the majority of our running backs to be earlier. I kind of like the idea of taking Chase Edmonds here because they've already come out and said they're cool featuring Edmonds if they don't sign Drake. Now, obviously, like 8th round will be too early for Chase Edmonds if they re-sign Kenyon Drake. But I think it's worth the risk at this point because what else are you doing? You're basically taking a chance on Leonard Fournette. You're saying maybe he goes to Seattle and they're going to feature him. Maybe he stays in Tampa Bay and they use him. Honestly, both scenarios are really good, and so I do still think Fournette's a solid pick in this range. But I think Edmonds is slightly better because if he gets featured in Arizona, I mean, look out. Like that's a running back 1 if he's going to be featured there. We would have loved definitely getting Fournette the next pick, but there were just so many picks that go by that we're just not going to get that. We're probably cool with our running backs where we don't need one with this pick. We got Taylor Gibson, Melvin Gordon, Chase Edmonds now. Probably want to go back to receiver. Again, so many of these tight ends are the same. At this point, we just have to hold off. And so if we go back to receiver, we're definitely looking at LaVisca. I've seen Chark. Now I want to confirm that. I've seen Chark in trade rumors. Is that true? I don't remember if that is true or not. I feel like we should look that up. Let's look up Roto World or NBC Sports Edge. Really dumb name change there. Let's confirm that. If that's true and like LaVisca turns into the 1. Okay, no. So it's not trade rumors. Okay. Maybe I just like made that up. Yeah. Because I was going to say that it doesn't make like a whole lot of sense because like they have Chark and LaVisca and then like no one else. Like why are they trading away Chark and only keeping LaVisca? Like they need more talent. But regardless, I think that they're obviously getting Tua. They're obviously getting Lawrence. And he is going to be an upgrade over what they have had. I think LaVisca is a very, very talented receiver. They can use him in a lot of different ways. They can get him the ball in different ways. They can get him ball in carries, on screen passes. I think he's an exceptional talent. And in this range, there's a lot of players I think are talented, but a lot of them don't necessarily have the same amount of upside. So definitely like taking him. I think I've taken him in every single mock draft so far, along with Claypool. But listen, when guys are value like these are the guys I want on my team because I'm just so sure that they're going to have a good season. And when you're in the 9th round, how many people are you really sure are going to have a good season? Not very many. Again, we can look at running back. It's like Penny if Fournette doesn't go there. It's probably your best option, but I don't think we need to go there. So maybe we just take another shot at wide receiver. Would probably be Mike Williams, honestly. But it's Mike Williams, it's Jalen Reagor, Mooney, Devonta Smith probably actually. I mean, I would prefer to get Mike Williams and Devonta Smith, but because like, I mean, I think Herbert's good, and if Herbert takes another step forward, like maybe Mike Williams can have a nice season. But what if Devonta Smith goes in like the middle of the first round to like an offense that's going to use him immediately? That's also very, very intriguing. And I feel like I'd rather just secure that. If I don't get Mike Williams, it's whatever. I'll take Mooney. I'll take like Gabriel Davis. Like it'll be fine. Yeah, I think if we're looking at who has more upside, I think Smith has more upside than Mike Williams does. So we've got 2 more spots. Still haven't taken a tight end, but again, like I said, I mean, I feel like you take Evan Ingram here, Jonnu Smith, Logan Thomas. You could take Irv Smith, might even be my favorite. I feel like Evan Ingram is probably who you would take here, but I don't have like a huge take. I'd be fine with Cole Kmet because he was starting to do really well towards the end of last season, and he was a very, very highly rated prospect. And just imagine if Wilson did end up going to Chicago. I don't know if it's going to happen, but if it did end up happening, then, I mean, Kmet would be awesome. But I think there's too many factors going against him that it's like you still would prefer Higbee, Irv Smith, Jonnu Smith, Logan Thomas, Evan Ingram, and I don't think all those guys are going to go. So it's just not worth taking there. And even Kyle Pitts, if all those went, I would just take Pitts, who's going to be phenomenal. So I don't think I need to take a tight end at this spot. Let's just take our favorite ones at running back and receiver here. We do need to take one more running back. It probably would be Penny. It would just be like, hey, do they end up not going after Fournette, not drafting a running back high in the draft, and Penny does start the season without Chris Carson as the number one guy. So that's just what you're hoping for there. But again, it's the 11th round. These are some of the picks that you're just dropping whoever for. Still basically the same guys. I think Irv Smith went off the board at tight end, but same options still available. I guess we can just take Ingram, right? We'll just take Evan Ingram here. Then we'll grab probably Darnell Mooney, and then we'll take our favorite defense, and then we'll call it a draft. I don't remember any of the points that I had to go over, like any of the really close comparisons here. I don't know that we had many decision points, but we'll definitely go over it. You probably want the Chiefs defense. No, Chiefs or Bucks are probably the two that you'd be going after. Again, we're not too concerned with the grade that we ever get here because we draft differently. The computer wants us to draft. Okay, but we want to build up that bench depth. So, starting lineup. Kyler Murray, Jonathan Taylor, Antonio Gibson, A.J. Brown, Robert Woods, Evan Ingram. Our flex spots, both of them, Melvin Gordon, Chase Claypool. Melvin Gordon would definitely be in the flex. It would depend on matchup with like Claypool and LaVisca, Devonta Smith, and then it would depend on what happens with Chase Edmonds. Does he become the full-time starter? Because if that's the case, he's definitely starting for us there. And then Penny and Darnell Mooney. I like this team a lot. We secured our quarterback. We waited a ton for tight end and still got someone who, I mean, Evan Ingram, if someone's going to tell you he doesn't have potential to be top 5, they're lying to you. Like, he has that potential. And then I feel very secure about our running backs. I know for a fact that Taylor and Gibson, unless they get hurt, are going to be good in fantasy. I feel like Melvin Gordon's a huge value right now. And we didn't give up too much at receiver. I know we took a lot of other positions early, but A.J. Brown's incredible. Robert Woods, I think, is going to be very, very consistent with a ton of weekly upside. Claypool could easily be a 1. I think LaVisca's awesome. Devonta Smith, Darnell Mooney. I love this team. So, very, very good draft in my opinion. But what could have we done differently? I don't want to do a comparison on tight end because we already did that. I guess it would be waiting on quarterback. So if at this pick we had taken maybe like T. Higgins, I guess maybe we would have taken T. Higgins in that spot. And then let's just pretend we would have waited for quarterback late. We'll say I want to do not like the very last round though. Who is still on the board though? Yeah, can we bring up the cheat sheet? Who's still on the board for quarterback? So Stafford. Okay. Stafford. We'll go Mooney here. Okay. Would you rather do Kyler Murray and Darnell Mooney or T. Higgins and Matthew Stafford? That's kind of and I guess it's not even early. It's more mid-range quarterback because 5th round's closer to the mid-round. I'd say top 4 rounds is early. So Kyler Murray and Darnell Mooney or T. Higgins and Matthew Stafford. You can vote on the poll that I will post on Twitter at NickSilakFFA. You can put what you think in the comment section. Remember to answer the stat of the day in the comment section and on Twitter. And then finally, let me know any comparisons. So if you were watching this draft and you were like, Nick, I don't know if I should take Robert Woods or Mike Evans, or I really don't know between Gibson and J.K. Dobbins. Like, these are points where I'm like kind of trying to figure out who I want to take. Let me know what your favorite one is. Look at other people's, upvote them, give them the like to let me know what you want. And then next week, I will do one of those as a video breakdown. But that, my friends, is the end of this one. Hope you all did enjoy. If you did, then how about hitting that like button? And how about subscribing to the channel if you're new? Thanks for watching.